From the heart of America to the corners of the globe, welcome to Voices of Distilling, powered by the American Distilling Institute. Unearth the stories, the passion, and the faces behind every drop. Dive deep into the world where tradition meets innovation. With me, your host, Ronell Richards. Let's tap into the spirit of distilling, where every voice is unique, but the heart remains the same. Let the journey begin.
Welcome back to Voices of Distilling. I am Ronell Richards, the host of Voices of Distilling, and I am joined by a podcasting pro. And you've had a really successful podcast for quite some time, Kenny. I've got Kenny Coleman here of Pursuit Spirits and the Bourbon Pursuit podcast.
Yeah.
Should it be the Bourbon Pursuit? Or just Bourbon Pursuit?
We always say Bourbon Pursuit, but we are the self-proclaimed official podcast of bourbon.
I love it.
Yes.
All right. So I'm an Ohio State fan. So
okay. Go Buckeyes.
Go Bucks. We are the Ohio State University. So I'm going to go the Bourbon Pursuit podcast.
Okay. I'll take it.
All right.
I'll take it.
Welcome in, man. It's really cool to sit down with you. I've been looking forward to this conversation and just kind of chopping it up. This whole show is about just exposing the ADI community to all of the different diverse voices in our community, people doing really cool things, and just give them a platform to share with others, share with our membership. And so before we get this thing started, there's one thing I like to do.
Sure.
And I've done this on every episode.
Okay.
And that
You're not going to grill me with like technical questions.
Yeah, man, totally technical.
Oh, okay.
So, and these are scientific questions.
Oh, all right. 51% corn. That's
as far as it goes for you?
I think it's how I make it.
You and me too. Okay. All right. No, these are little known distilling facts.
Okay.
All right. Distilling industry facts. So I got one for you. Did you know King Henry IV of France had his own royal distillery in the 16th century and was a big fan of brandy?
I did not know that.
I did not
know that. Now, brandy, I could see the brandy side. That would make sense. But no, I did not know he had his own distillery.
Well, neither did I until I just read that. I don't know that I cared that much either. But
do you go down to like the Google engine and try to figure out like what are the random distilling facts that nobody knows about?
I'm way better than that. I'm using ChatGPT.
Oh,
baby.
even better.
I'm put a little AI, a little intelligence behind it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Easy. Oh, that's so smart. I will be really excited to figure out like when we kind of talked about beforehand. I work in tech as still my day job while we're trying to get the bourbon business off and running. And of course, right now, AI is the hottest thing that's out there. And so I'm trying to figure out when are these two worlds going to collide of like AI and distilling or something like that. I mean, to be fair, all the press releases I write now are all done via ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's so much easier to get the mind rolling and get the ideas started and stuff like that. So we're incorporating it mostly on a marketing side right now, but it'll be interesting to see if there's ever a time when the two worlds really do collide.
You know what? I didn't think we were going to go down that road with this conversation, Kenny, but I think this is something that's really important and something that our membership should be thinking about. So I'm the marketing guy, right? And I absolutely leverage ChatGPT to help with the marketing. It's great for ideation. It's great for
we use it for the podcast. When I'll go ahead, we'll create the show notes, and instead of me having to come up and think of the entire intro, I'll just throw it in there and say, write me a summary, and then give me a title. And it's just like it gets you like 90% of the way there. Yeah. Right? You want to tweak a few things.
I say for me, I say a little less because I think that there's
75%.
Yeah, 75%, because that the other 25%, that's you, that's the artistry, that's your personality, your unique brand identity, those things that kind of need to be woven into that.
They do.
But I think it's a valuable tool that everyone should be leaning into, and I know it's a little scary for folks out there, but you need to be thinking, how can you leverage this in your business? I look at it like any other tool in business,
absolutely.
Right? Like let's say phones. That's not very controversial, right?
Right.
But it probably was about, 75 years ago when people were like, well, you're just going to call someone? Well, that's not personal. Like, you got to go there and show up and you got to knock on their door and you got to shake their hand. How can you call someone? You can't shake their hand through the phone, right? So I would imagine it was something. We weren't around back then, but I would imagine it was something like that. So I think you just kind of Got to figure out how to use it, how to leverage it without losing that.
You still have the
business.
personal touch to it. You have to have some sort of brand-centric approach to it as well. And as you kind of mentioned, it's what we use it for. It's not about getting you to the goal line. It's about letting the idea start being generated from it. Because to be fair, it's like a lot of us, we focus on more important things, whether the podcast or running a business, and you're not a copywriter. And our vocabulary isn't extensive as it is that too. So it's like, yeah, sure. Make me something and make it sound eloquent and it'll do that for you.
Is that what you're doing, Kenny?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's actually some
I thought you were eloquent all this time, man. Apparently ChatGPT is.
All it is. It's just, regurgitate that. No, but funny thing is that if you use ChatGPT and you say, put this in here and like create me a summary, and then you say, create me a summary that will shock and awe, and then wait till you see like what it comes out with. Oh, there's some gems that come out.
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
You could do some that are like, write me a press release in like as if it was George Clooney speaking.
Yeah.
And it'll feel like that, or Ryan Reynolds, or whatever it's going to be.
Have you tried that?
Yes, it
All
works.
Right. And have you read it like you're
No. But you just start testing out random things and figuring out what
I think
works.
I would do it like Liam Neeson, though. I would be like,
oh yeah.
And then I would do it in the Liam Neeson voice.
Just like very like short, abrupt, and it's like, I don't know where you are, but I will find you.
I love it. All right, man. So let's get into what's going on in your world. So, so you released a brand.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 years now, right?
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it all kind of stemmed from the podcast. Like that's really where it was all born. I mean, we've been thankful that we were one of the very first ones that were on the market of trying to bring, it's kind of like what you're doing. We saw this and we said, what's missing in the market? Because I didn't want to be a review podcast or just sit there and try stuff and tell people what to buy. It's like, that's so subjective. And it's not really what the show was meant to be. So what we want to do is we focus on how do we give voices from inside the industry an opportunity to be able to connect with the people. And so how do we connect the brands and the people? And that was really the mission of it. And it's a great concept. And now we release 3 episodes every single week. So we're constantly busy with it, but
that's a lot of work.
It is. I mean, I always say, what we're doing right here, sitting here talking, this is the easy part.
Oh, absolutely.
After this, it's the, well, I mean, you have all the logistics setting it up, you have the post-production, it's the marketing, it's getting it out there. So there is, it takes a long time. So you think an hour podcast, there's probably about 9 hours of work that just goes into getting something out the door.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we had a really good opportunity that kind of knocked on our door. And because we talked about a brand on the podcast, and somebody called me about 2 weeks later and they're like, hey, I helped build that brand. Would you be interested in starting your own? And we're like, well, tell me more. And so, like I said, now we're a few years into it, about $5 million in debt with about $5 more million to go. But everybody here knows about what debt's like.
The objective is to make money, right?
Eventually. Yeah. I mean, I really love what we're doing because we're not trying to boil the ocean. We're not trying to compete with the big guys in the industry. Like there's enough room that everybody can have their kind of slice of the pie.
Sure.
And our final scale point is just going to be a drop in the bucket compared to probably even a lot of the people that are inside of ADI as well. But we really just looked at it and we said, we have a unique story. Like we don't come from generations of legacy distilling. Like we didn't have businesses that we sold and we said, you know what, let's just do bourbon. Like everything is built out of pure passion.
Yeah.
And what we just love the industry. We love the product. We love being able to talk about it. And there's just a drive that continues to keep us going to make sure that we can create better products and keep putting it out there and continue to differentiate ourselves, because I feel that nobody has a story like ours. Nobody has a story that, they started off with a podcast and it blew up. And now
so tell us the story. Share the story.
Well, I mean, that's what it really was, is like, I do this a lot when I do the presentations for folks and just say, like, it's a very unique thing to kind of look at us and say, well, these guys didn't just come from silver spoons. They didn't sit there and have trust funds or anything like that to go build anything. I mean, as we were kind of mentioned before the show started, every dollar that we have made off sales has gone back into building the business, whether that's buying barrels, whether it's buying product, paying for marketing. We have yet to pay ourselves yet in this venture, a few years into it. So we see I'm sure everybody else does. You see the spreadsheet shows that it's going up and to the right. But we just have to make sure that we're going to hit those goals.
Continue
as
that
well.
trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I find it really interesting that you built a community and then launched a brand from the community, and I think that's
Yes.
something that that a lot of people can learn from. We're kind of seeing some of that clearly with like celebrity brands and everything. I think I personally think
We're
it's
not a celebrity
little,
brand, by the way.
I
so.
think that it's there's a big difference. Like the celebrity brand is, to me, it's a less intimate. It's like, hey, I was in some movies. Here's my name. I'm attaching it to that. Whereas you've built a community, and then you've launched a brand off the back of that community. In the sense that, and you've earned equity with the community, right? Like you've been doing. How long have you guys been doing your podcast?
The podcast started in 2015.
Wow.
And you're right. I mean, it's really. I think it was a Kentucky Bourbon Festival last year. Some lady had been to our booth a few times, and towards the end, I forget exactly what her name was, but she brought out the business card, found her, whatever. And she's got a bunch of barrels and all this sort of stuff, and she goes, you all are probably the most interesting people here because a lot of people build a brand and try to find an audience.
Yeah.
Like you all already had an existing audience and then built a brand off it. So, I mean, that's the great thing is we had customers on day one, right? Not a lot of people can say that.
Correct.
But the thing is we're also learning is that the podcast, granted, we are the largest whiskey podcast. We reach around 50,000 people every single month through the show.
That's awesome.
50,000 unique listeners. We do about 180,000 downloads a month.
Jeez.
Yeah, last year was like 2.2 million downloads or something.
Dude, that's
like that.
impressive.
Well, it's fun. I mean, it's one of those things that at one point we thought we were going to stop, and it's because all this, it's burnout, right? It's how hard can you keep going and not get paid to do stuff, and like where's the ROI? But we finally got over some of those humps. But yes, it's just one of those really cool things to see that not only do we have a community that's being built around it, but it is still a very small community at the end of the day. So we're branching out and trying to find broader consumers that aren't the true whiskey geek and enthusiast that if you're listening to Bourbon Podcast, like you're in, like you're all in. And so we have their ear, but we've got to break beyond that, and we've got to find the customers that are just that like bourbon in general.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a couple of rapid fire this podcast, right?
Let's
We've
do
got a
it.
couple of rapid fire questions for you, all right?
Let's go for it.
All right. Desert Island. This is my favorite question to ask. What is your desert island spirit? It's you're Gilligan, you're on an island, you got one spirit. What is it? That reference I just made, I lost like half the audience with that. They're like, what the hell is a
Gilligan's
Gilligan?
Island. At least I'm not that old, man. It's like I know who Gilligan's Island is.
Okay, all right.
I know the 3-hour tour.
Yeah.
I would say, you gotta when you're on an island, like it's gotta be some kind of rum. I think that's just what it has to be. I'm not because rum you can make the tiki drinks, everything like that. And so if I'm on a desert island, I think that's what I want to go with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
As much as I love my own whiskey, it's not always gonna be the best when you're sitting there with your feet in the sand.
Dude, I don't know if you're going to be making any tiki drinks either on that desert island. I'm just saying.
Well, you find a coconut, you find a pineapple. I'm sure we could figure something else out.
All right, next question. I need to pull a fun one for you. Here's this general. I just want to know.
Okay.
You a cocktail guy?
I love cocktails.
What's your favorite cocktail?
The staple by far is a barrel-aged Manhattan. Now, I will say, and I will go on record, and anybody that's looking for good vermouth, don't get me wrong, Antica, Coqui, like they're all great, but there is a brand called Starlino, and it takes my cocktails to the next level. And it's this Italian vermouth. They age everything in ex-bourbon barrels, so of course it's just going to make it feel a lot more richer and boozier and everything like that. And by the way, if you're making these like black walnut bitters, that's where it's at. You gotta have it.
Yeah, I love Starlino as well. I remember. I think Rabbit Hole did.
Yes, they did a collaboration.
Yeah,
with them.
collab with them. Like, was it last year?
Yeah, they did a rye, I think, in their X barrels or something like that. It was really good, from what I recall. But yes, I'm one of those people too. Is that I'm a big fan of cocktails, experiencing cocktail culture at new restaurants and stuff like that. Because I very rarely will go to a restaurant and look at the back bar of whiskey and go, "Oh yeah, give me a Knob Creek." Like, I've had most of everything on there, and so I want to try a lot of new things, and usually it's just through cocktails. Like that's what I want to do. I kind of want to see how the restaurant puts their spin on an old fashioned or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I love that as well. All right, so you are kind of like you're a double threat here. You're a dual threat, man. So I'm going to ask you. Usually at this point, I'm asking about kind of like one specific area of the industry or the business, but I'm going to go in two different directions with you with this question because you've run a successful podcast for a very long time. In fact, since 2015, as a fellow podcaster, I've had 4 podcasts, a lot of episodes and all that. When I started our Business and Bourbon podcast back in 2018-ish? There's something like 400,000 podcasts.
Yeah, I think we're up to 2 million now.
Yes. And so you were 3-4 years before that where there was less. So my question to you is, folks looking to get into the pool now, right? Looking for ways to market their different ways to market their business and maybe considering podcasting. What would be your advice for our members that are thinking about starting a podcast to help elevate their brand?
I would say if you're looking for a way to put your money in the right way, you can sponsor us and we can run commercials on Bourbon Pursuit. No, I mean, there is something to be said. Like we have some great sponsors, and we feel like what we want to be able to do is we bring on the right sponsors. It's not just like anybody throws us money, we put them on. Like we want to make sure it's a good relationship as well. And we can get your message out, like I said, to 50,000 people every single month. Like it's really hard to do that on your own. And I will, by the way, and I'm as open as I possibly can be. Like you can go to Bourbon Pursuit's website. I put all the equipment and all the software we use and everything like that. So if you think that you want to get started, go and check it out, and you can see sort of it's a very low barrier to entry to get into podcasting. It's digital. All you do is you buy some equipment, you're off and running. It's everything that's afterwards. It's the time that's spent in post-production. It's the time that you spend trying to market it. It's the time you spend trying to find new listeners. There's just a lot of effort that goes into it. And to be fair, as I mentioned earlier, it was like I had burnout. I hit burnout at one point where we did, I think, like 40 or 50 episodes. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't going anywhere. It's not getting any traction. And we kind of like let it die for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden we got people asking us on Twitter, and they go, when's the next episode gonna be released? We're like, all right, well, I guess people are really listening. Yeah, so it kind of reinvigorated us a little bit. And just know that people aren't going to be, especially if you're in a brand doing this, it's a good way to give folks an insight into it. And we ended up doing that too. So I hate free time. So we started a second podcast as well. And it's called Behind the Pursuit.
Okay.
And it's called Behind the Pursuit.
Is that like a paid subscription?
No,
one?
It's all free. It was actually a way for us to, because we have a bourbon brand and we're poor, we don't have good marketing, so we knew we could podcast. So we said, let's just start another podcast.
Yeah.
And it's all about the highs, lows, everything in between of launching your own bourbon brand. So we talk about what it's like to work with distributors, what it's like to source barrels, source glass, source whatever it is. There's cultural topics. Like one of the last ones that we did was like, can whiskey be a lifestyle brand? And kind of really thinking about that, because I know there's brands like Woodford Reserve, they're trying to break into it, but will it become a Yeti? Probably not, right? So we're trying to figure out that's just one idea. Like there's just tons of stuff that we think about. We have a whole running list of ideas and topics and episodes, and so
interesting. So make sure you're subscribing. Okay, so one piece of advice.
I'm here for
one piece of advice. They've started the podcast. They've gone through everything. Marketing. One piece of advice. If you could give them one piece of advice for marketing, what would you say?
I would say before marketing, it's always quality. Always quality. I feel like that's probably where we messed up in Bourbon Pursuit, was the very early days, is not investing in the right equipment. It's like, would you watch a YouTube video if the video is shaky? No, probably not, right? And so you want to make sure you have good quality. And our first ones were us huddled around one microphone, all talking into it. And we probably lost people in the very beginning because it was just the audio was crap. So I would say always make sure you put an emphasis on quality first. And then when it comes to marketing, I'm pretty sure a lot of the folks that are members, they already have an email distribution list. Like they've been building up the customer base. And so that is a way that you get it out there, get it to market, and get people to start subscribing on day one. we're independent, so it's a little bit different. We were able to kind of rely on finding some influential people to have in our first like 10 episodes, and having them go and reshare it out to their community that then got more eyeballs on us after that. So it's about making sure that you can either bring on the right guests that will potentially help give you a little push, little bump, whatever it is. And then, so it's just.
Well, that's great advice, man. And that's something I would echo, the quality piece. I think a lot of our members can really relate to that, because it comes back to spirits as well. Like
yes, it does.
That's a theme that is just an overwhelming theme I hear amongst the ADI members, of how they've focused, at least our most successful ones, how they've focused on quality and they've never really compromised on that part. They've made other decisions. They've made business decisions here and there and had to go in directions they didn't expect to go, but they never skimped on the quality of their product. Podcasting, the same thing, and I've been podcasting for many years and many speaking engagements talking about it as well. And I would echo that. If you're going to step into the world, make sure that you have the best quality audio that you can have, the best quality video, because again, when you started, I'm just guessing, probably 250,000 podcasts. You said around 2 million. I believe that I'm hearing around from Podtrack. I think Podtrack.
Yeah, Podtrack. That's one of
I'm
them.
hearing somewhere closer to 4.
Okay.
So think about that. If you're going to start, you're going to get into this world of podcasting. It's
noisy.
Really noisy.
Yeah.
So if someone listens to your podcast and it's like scratchy and there's bad audio, like they're checking out on like 30 seconds.
They're not going to revisit it.
Yeah. All right. Now my next question for you.
Okay.
Is around your brand. So you launched your brand. If you could go back and impart some wisdom to yourself, because you've learned a lot since you launched, what would that one piece of advice be that you'd give to yourself?
Don't put all the money in the liquid. You got to put money in marketing as well.
Oh, wow.
And that was probably our biggest thing, is we looked at it and we said, like, how can we want to create a good product. We're like, oh, we have an audience. This will be easy. We'll go ahead and get out there. It'll sell and blah, blah. And then you get it out there and it sells the first time. And then you're like, okay, and we're plateaued. Like, what do we do now? And so then you got to put all the money into marketing and everything like that. So I would say that was probably one of the things that we definitely overlooked starting out, is that, yes, you could have the best whiskey in your bottle. You could have fancy packaging. You could have all this other kind of stuff around it. But unless you have somebody that will go and sell it for you or market it or whatever it's going to be, it's going to sit there because people don't know about it. And I've been telling, and people already know this already, like everything's built in this industry off the Costco model. You got to try before you buy. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that we are learning firsthand really hard.
Wow. Yeah. Great advice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So in some ways, Kenny, I feel like we're like in the battle of the radio voice, but you're winning. Your radio voice, man. Let me tell you something. Yeah, it's some good stuff.
I appreciate it, Ronald.
There's no reason.
I'm here for you. Thanks for the compliments. This is the good ego boost that I needed for the day.
You come on Voices of Distilling, you're going to get some compliments, but they're well deserved, man. You've got that nice silky radio voice. Okay, so I have a closing question for you.
I'm here for it.
And I call this the closing question, whatever. So yeah, I think we're working on it. It's a working title.
It's okay. Put it back in ChatGPT and see if it has any more titles for it.
There we go. All right. What's cool in your world right now, man? What are you working on that's cool that you can share with?
Yeah, I mean,
our
the one thing
membership?
for sure. The one thing that we've really found for us, you've seen the industry really shake up and blow up because of finishes and finished whiskey. We didn't really want to go down that route necessarily because you don't know what you're going to get. But I have been incredibly impressed by with like ISC and Interstave and a lot of these oak alternative types of products out there, because for us, one, it's a lot more economical, which for a poor broke startup is great. But on the second hand is we start thinking of like waste, like what goes into it. I think it's a much more sustainable type of product that I feel the industry should probably take a closer look at when you start buying or getting used or source barrels or something like that. Like a lot of these oak alternatives can impart really great flavor in a short amount of time, And for us, we really like it because our blend can still shine through. It doesn't get masked by overpowering flavors or stuff that was left in the barrel that you just didn't know about or anything like that. So we're really thinking, like really looking to the future of trying to figure out, because that's the hard part in this business as well, is that, yeah, you can have a good bourbon, but the consumer has also changed and they want their bourbon to taste like something else is what it feels like. And so this allows us to kind of not chase after something, but we can develop a product that really fits our mantra of what we're wanting to do, because we just don't want it to go to the nth degree. We want it to still be true, and like I said, let the blend shine through, because at the end of the day, we still want the whiskey to be king.
Yeah.
Even if you have to get from, whether it's a wine finish or anything like that, you still want the whiskey to shine through and not just be an overpowering thing. So like I said, I really think right now in this space, that's a cool thing to be looking at, especially if you are a small outfit like us, and you're looking at something that's going to be much more economical and, in my opinion, more sustainable for the future as well.
Okay. Listen, Kenny, I could do this like all day. Like I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. I know you're
excited.
Busy here at the conference and meeting with some of our suppliers and meeting some of our distillers. As you're walking up, your fan base is already out there wanting to engage with you. So
it's like you travel halfway across the country to come here and you see the same people from back home. So.
But I've really enjoyed this and I appreciate it, guys. I want to make sure that you're following Kenny. And Kenny, what's the best way if people want to do business with you, they want to connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can check out Bourbon Pursuit, bourbonpursuit.com. There's information about how to subscribe to the show and check all that out. If you want to learn more about our other brand, pursuitspirits.com, but you can always send me an email, kenny@pursuitspirits.com, and I'm always glued to it, so you'll get a response in probably a day.
Fantastic. And guys, we'll have all that information in the show notes as well. So, hey, Kenny, again, appreciate you for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much, Ronald.
Really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. If you're not a member of ADI, what are you doing? Join. We're waiting for you.
I'm even a member. I'm a podcaster.
Right? We've got a cozy seat right next to us waiting for you. All you got to do is go to distilling.com, become a member. If you are a member, it's time to get engaged. Look, our industry, it's competitive. There's a lot of change. You need community. Check in with your community, get engaged, get educated, get inspired, share stories like Kenny shared with us with others, inspire them, motivate them. It's all about community, guys. So I appreciate you for hanging out with us. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Tell your friends. And I look forward to seeing you again, or rather in Baltimore. For those of you that aren't here in Vegas, we'll see you in Baltimore next year. But until next time, we'll see you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
As we conclude another episode of Voices of Distilling, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to you, our cherished listeners. Your support is the lifeblood of our show, and we are endlessly thankful for each and every one of you. If you've enjoyed our conversation today, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast. It truly helps others discover these spirited stories. And if you wish to further support our mission, consider becoming a member of the American Distilling Institute. As a member, you'll dive deeper into the world of distilling, gain access to exclusive content, be a part of our dynamic annual conference, and immerse yourself in a community where knowledge and passion converge. Visit our website, distilling.com, for more details on how you can benefit from membership and contribute to the vibrant tapestry of distilling. Until our glasses clink again, remember, every drop has a story, every voice a passion. Raise your glass and cheers to the heart of distilling.